Joining us this morning from County Medical Center is Dr. Evan Howe, who you're based out of Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Yeah.
Right.
You've been on the show before.
We about a month ago, I think.
Has it been a month?
Something like that, yeah.
And he will be coming back again with Dr. Bryant. Now, he'll take questions, as we always stress. Doctors do not make diagnoses over the telephone. So if you do have any questions, though, about anything out there, he'd really be he could answer them for you, possibly give you some kind of information on what you may be concerned with. But he has an interesting subject we're going to talk about today. And doctor, is a primary care physician, what should people be thinking about as the weather changes and we head into winter?
All right, exactly. I think this is an important topic because I see a lot of stuff that comes into the office and is related to sort of seasonal changes, and folks aren't really necessarily always aware of how that's impacting them. So a couple big things that change as we head into the change of the season. We're looking at less sunlight. The days are getting darker. We're getting up in the dark and we're coming home in the dark at now, and then with the temperatures are dropping, so we got cooler temperatures. Leaves are falling. A little bit more rain, precipitation. When it rains, the ground stays wet a little bit longer. So everything's kind of changing in the environment a little bit. And I think these have important impacts kind of on how our health plays out. So the first of these really is the sunlight exposure piece. Again, looking at the shorter days and also with the change in weather, folks stay in and away from the windows more. So we're really looking at folks really getting about half of the amount of sunlight they normally get when we head into the winter months. And sun's really important for health. As human beings, we're really built to work around the sun. The sun sets our clock every morning and keeps us tuned up. And as we've learned to inhabit further and further northern climates, our bodies have struggled to kind of keep up with that. And so in summer, we're really living in this kind of perfect balance there.
Actually, we're going to lose an hour this weekend as we set
Does that come up this weekend here? Yeah.
And actually, it's going to sunset on Sunday. Believe it or not, will be 5:20.
Right.
So there's your short day.
Exactly. So as we're heading into that, and I think for a lot of us, we get up in the morning, we head into work. We're sitting in buildings that don't have a whole lot of windows, don't have a whole lot of sunlight exposure. We eat lunch at our desk. We head home when the sun's already down. I know for me, certainly in past winters, I've gone weeks without seeing any sunlight at all.
Sure.
And that can be really that can impact mood. That can impact just overall our energy level and how we're feeling. A couple of things that we found that can be helpful for dealing with the sunlight piece. A lot of folks who work nights are used to using light boxes, sitting at their desk and having a light box. So there's these light boxes. You can get them on Amazon. You can find them a whole bunch of different places, and you really want that high intensity sunlight stimulation. And just about 30 minutes a day in the morning kind of is enough to stimulate your brain, get it back onto the rhythm. So keys with that, you don't want to be staring right into it, just like you don't want to go outside and stare into the sun or anything. Just set it on the hutch or something as you're eating your breakfast, and let that sunlight sort of sink into your eyes and change how your brain's working.
Dr. Seed started me, I think it was 2 years ago, with vitamin D.
Yeah.
Because of us up here not getting a lot of D
Right.
vitamin. And I don't know if it's, I don't feel any different from him, but he said 99.5% of the people out there do not have good vitamin D counts because of the lack of sunlight.
Right, that's very true. And so there's a couple of different ways to approach it. My general recommendation is I tell everyone up here in the Northeast Ohio region, you want to be taking about 1,000 units in the summer, and then really when the dark days start setting in, you want to up that to about 2,000 units a day.
Okay.
And that's kind of the rule of thumb approach to it. Certainly we can check a level and tailor therapy appropriately. I've seen folks in my office who very, very low vitamin D levels. I need to put them on higher doses to really maintain them. And then there's rare folks who just manage to either handle the sunlight very well or get out and stay active enough, so they don't necessarily need it. But Nice thing about vitamin D, pretty broad therapeutic range, so you can take those 2,000 units a day and feel fairly confident that you're not going to overdose it.
Can you take 2,000 even in the summer?
You can.
It won't hurt you.
It won't necessarily hurt you. It's something that you want to have some discussion with your doctor about, and if you're taking a little bit more, you may want to check a vitamin D level occasionally just to get a sense of where you're going with it. But
okay. What does it actually do?
The main role of vitamin D is in bone health. So it's important in absorbing calcium into your body, helping your bone turn over, build stronger bones. As we're sort of in an era right now of doing a lot more study about the other aspects of vitamin D. We know it plays a role in energy, plays a role in mood. So a lot of folks who come into my office have fatigue, have depression, just don't feel right. I take a vitamin D level and we sort of think about going down that route for it.
Really?
Muscle strength. I was reading a study the other day about ballet dancers actually, and they were giving them high doses of vitamin D in the winter to counteract the lack of sun, and found that they actually had some measurable improvement in their muscle.
Really?
With the vitamin D. And actually came across a study in thinking about this topic that even in terms of blood sugar metabolism and diabetes, that folks with low vitamin D levels sometimes have a harder time keeping the sugar under control. So it's an area where there's a lot of new stuff coming out, and I'm not sure I can say authoritatively beyond the bone health that any of the other aspects have been thoroughly documented, but there's a lot of directions that we're seeing that vitamin D's playing a big role in terms of lots of other pieces. In the immune system, that's the other area that I know there's been some discussion that it may help keep you healthier in the winter too.
Doc, of course, we've been pushing this because of the importance of it, but the flu shots this time of year.
Absolutely.
Got mine yesterday. It didn't hurt at all when I had it, but it got a little sore in the afternoon.
Right.
But I have been getting the flu shot probably the last 15 years. I didn't get them before, but I'm sure you endorse having flu shots.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have the flu shots in our office. The health department has flu shots. Most of the pharmacies give out flu shots. Flu shots are really important, and especially as we're talking in this era of looking at the Ebola epidemic and fear over that. And gee, wouldn't it be nice if we had a shot that would save lives that way? And certainly it would be nice if we had a shot to help out in that direction. But flu shots, I've seen plenty of folks in the ICU and dying with flu related.
I've actually had a doctor say in person here and also on the national news that the Ebola is over here. The flu's here, and there's actually people that die from the flu, so that is really a priority.
Absolutely, get your flu shot. I mean, it's one of those things. We can do something about this. We can, and certainly the hand washing and good hygiene is an important piece too. But getting that flu shot's important. And it does hurt a little bit in the shoulder the next day. Is kind of the typical thing. I got mine last week, and I think for a day or two I had a sore shoulder. Nothing too stiff, and I was still able to wrestle the kids and all that. But
yeah, I know. About 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, it's like,
exactly.
So they felt like somebody punched me.
Right, exactly. It feels a little bit like that, but I didn't have any fevers. I'm not really seeing anyone. No one's come back to my office. Folks are concerned about that. Whatever. We give them the flu shot. I haven't had anyone come back this year complain that they're getting any symptoms or anything like that.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, doctor.
Yes. Good morning.
I'm a vegan power lifter. I live in Jefferson, and I take 1,000 IUs of vitamin D a day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was on a website in the library the other day, and there's a website. He says take 10,000 to raise your testosterone. You think that's good or not?
I think that link may not be as strongly documented at this point, so I couldn't necessarily recommend that. I can't say for certain that it's not there. Really, that 1,000 to 2,000 range is typically where I keep most folks. Anything more than that, I'm doing testing. I'm doing lab testing to make sure that we're doing things appropriately.
Where's your office at? I live on East Jefferson Street.
Located on Dorset Road, which is the little section between Market Street and 307, right down by Mulberry Street. It's the old
Okay,
the old tire store.
I'll go. I need a test.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Looks like you might have a patient.
that would be excellent.
Yeah. You know, this time of year, it's, you know, you're out all summer long. You're outside playing golf or walking or whatever. Then everything kind of stops because
Exactly.
and you don't have the exercise.
Right.
Can you go on about that a little bit?
The exercise piece,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I think all these topics really play into each other. You're less exercise, less sunlight,
Right.
and all those pieces. Thinking about exercise in the winter, it's important, exactly. We're active, we're raking leaves, we're mowing the lawn, we're painting the house, whatever we're doing. You got to have some sort of an indoor plan, the reason I'm bringing this up now, before the snow hits, is so that we have time to make a plan. A couple ideas that I usually like to float with patients. There's lots of exercise DVDs. You just pop it in, do it in front of the television. So there's walking DVDs, there's yoga, there's Tai Chi, there's Pilates. Those are going to have the benefits of keeping your strength as well as your balance up, which is also going to play into when you go outside walking on the slick sidewalks, you're going to be in better shape for not having falls. So those are cheap, those are easy. You can get those at really any of the big department stores around here. Other things are getting on a treadmill, exercise bike, some sort of elliptical. It doesn't have to be the big fancy one. Again, most folks for exercise, we're just trying to get your heart rate up for a few minutes a day.
Right.
30 minutes a day, 5 times a week is the official recommendation, but just get that heart rate up a little bit. So you don't necessarily need the treadmill that's going to let you run a 4-minute mile at a 10% grade or anything like that. Just keep moving. The other option is going out to the mall. I know there's lots of folks when I've been out there. It's a great indoor track for walking and staying active. So that's or get involved with any of the gyms that are around here, fitness clubs.
Right, right.
There's lots of options that way, and some of those offer some social benefits too, which is a big piece of winter. Is you stay in your house, you don't see people as much, your mood starts to drop because of that. Getting out to where there's people and getting some exercise with people is going to help overall with energy and mood.
You know, with outdoor activities, especially this time of year, and I mentioned this yesterday, when you're driving and then you have wet leaves on the pavement, it's almost like ice because if you're going too fast, slam on the brakes, you're going to slide all over the place.
Right.
And that goes with walking as well. And as I mentioned to you before we went on the air, just a few years ago, I caught myself in the driveway. We had a really long driveway to get the mail, and halfway down the driveway, I caught myself because I slipped on ice, and I actually was laid up for a couple months with a bad knee.
Right.
And so you have to be careful out there for falls, that sort of stuff. Is there any kind of things that people should do to maybe get prepared to walk on ice, which is, I hate walking on ice.
Absolutely. And so it's the ice. It's also, like you're saying, the wet leaves, the wet pavement. Seeing lots of folks come into the office where they say, I thought I had a touch of arthritis. Someone told me years ago, and all of a sudden my knee is the size of a basketball, sort of thing. Ankles, they really take a hit with any little bit of instability. It's not the big fall. It's not falling off down the steps or something always. Small steps, and being a little bit more cautious and a little bit more slow, being a little more humble. That's always the tough piece, is being humble about ourselves. So using some sort of a support, using just a cane, a walking stick, something like that to give you a little bit more support. Being a little bit quicker to use handrails. Again, I know I'm the sort of person who I skip 2 or 3 steps. I don't use handrails. I just fly down stuff and then.
I used to be able to do that. I can't anymore.
That's what I'm discovering too. Is I spend a lot more time on the ground myself with that sort of an attitude. So humility is as much about me as anyone else. They also have those shoe grippy things that you can put on your shoes. They rubber that kind of stretch over your shoe. This can be real helpful for especially the soft, the snow, the slush. The mud, the leaves type of stuff. Not as helpful on wet pavement, not as helpful on hard ice because they can't really get a grip and you actually lose some grip. So you got to be cautious exactly where you're using those. But those those can be an option for you too.
Um, I know one of my aunts, my wife's aunts, used those grips, the shoe grips, and they swore by them. They said it gave them a little bit more, because they're elderly, and,
Right.
and gave them a little bit more.
Right.
I guess probably confidence, I think, is one thing. When you walk on ice, you really don't know which way you're gonna slide, go, and that's one of the problems I have with it. I don't feel confident walking
Right.
on ice
Right.
or driving on it either.
Exactly. So it's those little steps, and it's that being humble. And again, this is where it kind of comes back to the light and the vitamin D piece of it, where building stronger bones with better light exposure, better vitamin D levels, better bones will also keep you in better shape in terms of any falls or slips that you may have.
You mentioned also in your briefing here today that uneven surfaces can be a problem, especially for joints.
Right, uneven surfaces. So sometimes that's just the sidewalks and stuff as you're walking over the piles of leaves, walking over the uneven snow. What was a nice smooth driveway is now the ripples of the snow and piles of leaves that you gotta go around. And it's also a piece of, it's beautiful fall leaf season, so you're going out walking on the trails, walking in the backyard. The ground's a little soggier because we don't have the heat and the sun to dry it up as much. I know my backyard, which living in the wonderful Jefferson clay is always a little bit soggy, but certainly as we've entered into the fall here, I'm leaving footprints all over my backyard, whereas it used to be a little bit firmer surface. So you got uneven surfaces there, and going out walking trails, certainly all about getting outside and enjoying the outside. It's just about being prepared as you do it.
You mentioned also appetite cravings. What's that?
Appetites change a lot in the winter.
I think it does.
Everybody, again, kind of thinking back to who we were 100, 200 years ago. Wintertime comes around, you don't have any of your greens. As far as fruits and vegetables, we are typically used to recipes that involve potatoes, because those will keep, and onions, garlic, so the root vegetables that you keep down your root cellar, and then the canned foods as well. So those are kind of how our recipes and our cycles are built around. We're also looking at just the heavier, more calories. Again, as we get into colder seasons and less light, our bodies are sending signals of it's time to store up, get ready, the time of starvation's coming. Well, we've got a grocery store down the street in Jefferson. We've got two, and most towns have plenty of grocery stores. You can get all the food you need. We're past that point, but our bodies are still worried about it.
You touched on something that really has affected me. It seems like when I go into colder weather, I'm more hungry.
Right.
In the summertime, I could get away with a sandwich for dinner, and that would be it. But as the weather gets colder, I'm more hungry.
And that's absolutely a real thing. Those are signals our brain. Again, the eyes pick up the light, send signals to the brain, tell the brain, hey, we're heading into winter. The brain tells the body, sends those signals down, and gets us ready for it. So we're into heavier meals, more starches, more fatty things. All the cream soups come out.
Yep.
All of the heavy starches. That's going to send your blood sugar high. Blood sugar spikes impact mood. So again, bringing it full cycle there. And our bodies really are storing up for the winter. I see most folks, they do a great job spring and summer. We're finally getting control of the weight, getting folks down to a healthy weight. Fall and winter comes around, they pile on 10, 20 pounds again.
Sure. I know, you mentioned all the fresh produce that you get in the summertime. And I really miss, every Saturday my wife and I would go to the farmer's market and stock up on fresh tomatoes and we grew them ourselves in our garden, but we bought a lot of like sweet corn, different things at the farmer's market. Boy, and it closed down here a couple of weeks ago, and I miss it.
Right.
I really do.
Right.
You know?
And again, just thinking of all these little patterns and cycles that are part of our year that sort of slip away as fall comes around, and sometimes slip away without us realizing the impact it has on us. So
she asked me a good question the other day, and I guess it's just natural. She goes, "Have you noticed these squirrels are running around the yard with nuts in their mouth?" I go, "I know," but they just know winter's coming, so they're
Mhm.
stocking up.
Right.
Similar to what we do, like you just said.
Our brains are doing the same thing. Our brains are doing the same thing. We sometimes like to think of ourselves as very rational and sophisticated folks, but we're subject to our brain's interpretations of the
Yeah.
seasons the
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah. And you did mention that we do spend more time in the kitchen, I think,
Right.
when the weather's.
Right. Well, that's the other exactly.
Blustery,
You're sitting in the house, you're watching the snow outside, and well, the kitchen's right behind you. So let's go up and get a bag of chips, and
Yeah.
let's go, get some pretzels, and and some of that's about putting in your kitchen what you want to be eating. It's some of us get into the habit of we're just going to keep the bag of chips in the kitchen, thinking that we need that just in case. And honestly, if you need the bag of chips, most of us can walk down the street or drive down the street and get a bag of chips when we need it. We don't need that sitting on the counter waiting for us.
No, you really don't. Hi, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Pat.
Hi, you're on.
I got a question.
Sure.
If you eat your, say, breakfast and lunch and supper at the same time every day, would help you from being hungry all the time, wouldn't it?
Certainly, some regularity and routine in your eating habits. That's important. Again, kind of getting up at the same time every day, eating your meals at the same time, going to bed at the same time. If for those folks who pull that off, that's absolutely very helpful in controlling the appetite and controlling the energy levels. I see that a lot in folks, again, who come to me for issues around low energy, and it's this kind of very erratic eating and sleeping schedule. So absolutely, that's right on.
Do you follow that, Ron?
Yeah, I'm a diabetic,
Mm.
and I take my medicine every morning at the same time, and I'm up usually between 4:30 and 5,
Right.
and usually about 5. And I eat breakfast, but after I take my meals, because I'm supposed to take it with meal food.
Mm-hmm.
And then at lunchtime, I eat, and during the hours, when I come to 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I'm getting hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have a sandwich or something, and then when supper comes, I eat, and I went to the eye doctor, you know that,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to take a blood test for, I forget what it was, or something to do with my eyes. And they told me when they got the things that they couldn't believe that my cholesterol and everything was perfect. And I followed the doctor's orders. But I know that doing that, it controls my whole body. And I just wondered if that was true, if it was just me or other people doing the same thing.
No, it's definitely a very true thing, and I can't. It's always a great idea to have that routine and that rhythm in your day, and that's again, our bodies are built around patterns and cycles. That's a key piece to understanding how we work, and we use lots of medications and other stuff to try to fight those cycles. But if you keep your body in a routine pattern, so it knows what to expect and when to expect it, it can start ramping up the appetite at the right time when you're going to feed it, and then ramp it down. It's like anyone, you don't know when your next meal's coming, you're going to kind of stock up for it, and if you know that you've got a routine pattern, your body's going to be a lot more relaxed about appetite.
Well, it took me a while to get used to that schedule,
Sure.
Right.
And you're talking about the leaves and everything turning. The wife and I rode down to the Alleghenies, down towards Seneca down there,
Mm-hmm.
and the leaves are gone off the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't see any. She took her camera and everything going to get pictures. Well, we didn't get any pictures. But anyway, I just wanted to see if that were working, and so far it's helped me and maybe other people too. But for diabetes, you need to be on a schedule.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if your doctor, my doctor told me, and it took me a while, like I said, to get on that darn thing. But
Right.
anyway, you guys have a good day.
Thanks
All
for
right,
the call,
you too.
Ron. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Good point. Yeah, I have a crazy schedule because I get up pretty early in the morning to come in here, and then when I go, about 8:30, it's like noon to me,
Mm-hmm.
So I had a nurse tell me, she goes, actually, you should have a snack or something because that's probably would be a lunchtime for a normal person.
Right.
But then when I go home, a lot of times I don't eat at a special time, and so I don't follow a regimented plan like he
Mm-hmm.
follows because of phone calls and different things that happen. But I can see his point, though.
Huge benefit to it. Sort of like you, I have a rather irregular schedule. I'll get up. Some days I have to run into the hospital first thing in the morning.
Right.
Others I don't. Sometimes I'm dropping the kids off at school, and then I'm in the office. And the office, probably four days out of the week, I don't get a lunch because patients run over, patient calls, forms, whatever. And there's plenty of days I get home at 5 or 6 o'clock, and,
Sure.
and I haven't had any meals yet. And so it's we're all at.
What about exercise? Do you exercise?
I do at periods. I certainly have it as my goal to get out and exercise. Jefferson's been a great town for running in. There's lots of great sidewalks. The streets are in good shape. Good lighting. So there's lots of opportunities to get out and run.
Yeah.
Again, sort of with the work schedule, it makes it a little bit tougher for me to to know from one day to the next what I'm going to be doing. But I try to get out and exercise some.
Kind of close this up here. The solution. What do you have about that? I guess this is kind of fitting in with the appetite cravings thing. I guess, like you say, don't. If you have the potato chips in the house, it's easier not to eat them if you don't have them there.
Right, exactly.
You know? And I try to stay away. Like my wife could sit and probably devour a bag of potato chips. I just try to eat 2 or 3, and that's it. I try to cut it off. You know.
Right. A lot of folks don't have that ability to restrain themselves as well when it comes to a bag. I know I opened a bag of tortilla chips the other night, and I was about halfway through it before I realized what I'd done.
It's easy, yeah.
And that's really a big piece of the solution, is just be aware of your eating habits. Be aware that you're not smarter than your brain. Your brain has figured out how to keep you alive, and you got to respect that. And sometimes it's going to fight and apply its answers. So whether it's eating more in the winter, whether it's eating the food that you've got when you've got it sitting on the counter. Just be aware of that. Being out and exercise, get the sunlight again. If the mood's better, if you're getting more sunlight, if you're letting your brain think that, hey, we're in the summertime, those appetite cravings are also going to diminish a little bit as well. So the more active you are, more sunlight you're getting, the less you're going to get into that hibernation rut.
You're going into the holiday season too.
Holidays.
That's and I try not to eat sweets or desserts, but you got to have a piece of pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving,
right?
So,
Yeah, all things in moderation. But I mean, it's it's Halloween and everyone's walking around with buckets of candy, and what were we doing without buckets of candy? I don't know. We survived somehow. So I think it's realizing that the holidays can have all sorts of different meanings, but it's supposed to be really about the meaning of the holiday. It's about getting together with family, getting together with friends, church congregations, whatever it is. And letting that be the focus. And there's lots of great food traditions that we have around all these holidays. So a slice of pumpkin pie, that's a fine thing, but it doesn't mean that you need to eat a slice of pumpkin pie for a whole month.
Right.
And so it's just sort of realizing there's a place for the tradition, but so many of our and the table, that social fellowship is an important piece of things. I don't want to deny that, but just don't lose sight of the holiday in your dinner plate.
Yeah. Is it true that, and someone told me this, I don't know whether it's true or not, my son's growing up now, but is it true that if kids eat the candy like they're going to be doing for trick or treat, is it true that that gets their energy level going? And you know how they always say candy makes kids hyper. Is that a true thing?
Sugar spikes certainly affect mood and energy and behavior. So in Jefferson we had our trick or treat this past weekend.
Oh, you already had it.
We had ours, right? It was on
Did your
Saturday.
kids go out?
They went out. They the one son he went out for about 5 houses. He was done walking. He's the one I got to worry about. He didn't want to walk. It was too much work, he decided. So he came back and sat on the porch and handed out candy with me. My other son did the loop of the neighborhood, but he doesn't like candy, so he gives it all to the brother who didn't want to walk at all. So.
That's kind of rare. Kids that don't like candy. That's...
I know. I got one of each kind in terms of my kids. So but we got to be careful about giving the kids the candy because they'll fly off the walls. And that's not only they get real hyper, but when they crash, they crash hard, and then you get the screaming, the crying, and the kicking, and all that stuff. And And as a parent and as an adult, you got to say, I'm kind of responsible for putting the kid in this situation. They don't understand their metabolism. They don't understand the emotions that are rushing through them as the sugar's bringing them up and back down again. So you can't lean them too hard when they're jumping off the couch after you just gave them 20 pieces of chocolate. So.
Did a lot of people, and we try to stress this here, like on Trick or Treat night, we try to get the kids to not eat the candy on the way home until it can be looked at by, say, like you as a father, to make sure everything's okay.
Right.
And you don't have any problem with the little guy that only went to 5 houses, so he's not going to eat a lot of candy because he didn't get a lot, right?
Well, he got all his brother's candy.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, he walked off with all his brother's candy.
That's thinking.
he's a clever one. Yeah, certainly looking over the candy, getting a sense of what's in there. There's always, a lot of folks are dealing with a lot of peanut allergies and other types of allergies. So being real sensible about that with the holidays or with the trick or treat candy and just looking through that. And again, really nobody needs to binge eat on the candy.
Right. Right.
It's fun to get the candy, put it in the cupboard, spread it out over the holiday season. Yeah. A lot of years we've made our Halloween candy last all the way to January, February before we're.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember as a kid, you used to be able to get a Milky Way or something like that. They were this big. Now they're only this big. But as a kid, I couldn't wait to go trick or treating, and now, of course, I've outgrown all that stuff, and I don't really eat candy. So they do say though that a little bit of chocolate's good for you.
So there's a discussion about the dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate, yeah.
And there's resveratrol. So there was, which is the compound in the dark chocolate. A lot of support for that in a lot of the past years. There was a study that came out this summer that kind of dampened down some of the hopes for what the dark chocolate was doing.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure that we've really got the final answer on that. I'm not saying abandon the chocolate and the red wine or anything like that. Right. And always in moderation with those. But certainly I know there was one study that came out this year that kind of called some of that into question. So as with everything, we'll see. It's everything has its season, it seems. But at the end of the day, it's really that exercise and daylight. We know those are good things. So I haven't seen any studies saying don't get exercise and don't get out in the sunlight.
And I think that'll always be in vogue.
We can stick with those.
Yeah. Great subject matter today, Doctor, and I appreciate you doing that. Now, you will be coming back, I think, on November 10th.
It might be the 10th, I think, right? In about 2 weeks, I'll be coming back with Dr. Bryant.
12th, I think it is. Maybe.
Is that?
Maybe it's the 12th. Because that's a Wednesday.
Wherever that Wednesday falls.
Yeah. So, he wanted to come back and bring you back on and stuff, and he's been talking about a lot of different things here on the show as well. So, always looking forward to see Dr. Brian as well. Thank you so much, Evan, for coming in. It's a great subject matter as we head into the fall season here.
Right. I appreciate it. Appreciate the chance to discuss some of these things. I see all these issues coming up in the office, and when you see a pattern like this, I figure there's probably more people that can benefit.
Perfect timing. Perfect.